Hi everyone. Thanks for joining me, Mr. Roundy, for another enjoyable math lesson. Today's lesson is on dividing fractions in real-world problems. Our first problem deals with dividing fractions by fractions. So let's take a look at the problem. This is a real-world situation, or a situation we could find ourselves in that would require us to divide a fraction with another fraction. In this problem, we've got Bubba. Bubba is measuring ingredients for a pie he is baking. He needs a half teaspoon of baking soda. The problem is he only has a 1/8 teaspoon to measure the baking soda. How many 1/8 teaspoons will he need to make a half teaspoon? This particular problem actually is going to require us to do some division. Let's go over to a new screen where we can work out this problem. So in our problem, Bubba has a slight issue he has to deal with. He wants a half teaspoon of baking soda for his recipe. However, he only has 1/8 teaspoon to measure with. Basically, what this problem needs us to do is see how many 1/8 teaspoons will fit into 1/2 a teaspoon, which is going to ask us to divide 1/2 by 1/8. So I set up my problem, 1/2 divided by 1/8, and let's work through the steps. Step 1, I need to flip my divisor upside down or find the reciprocal and change my divide sign to a times sign. Now I have 1/2 times 8/1. 1 times 8 equals 8. 2 times 1 equals 2. Now if I change my improper fraction that I have here into a mixed number, divide 2 into 8 and it goes 4 times evenly. So we're going to need 4 1/8 teaspoons to make our 1/2 teaspoon. So in this case we're going to need 4. Let's go ahead now and look at a problem where we're going to have to divide a whole number by a fraction. In this problem, we're going to be dividing a whole number by a fraction. In our problem, Jane ordered 5 pizzas for a family dinner. She ordered enough so that each person at dinner could have 1/3 of a pizza. How many people were at dinner? Let's go over to a new screen where we can work out this problem. So in our problem, Jane ordered 5 pizzas, and she said that each person was going to get 1/3 of a pizza. So basically, if we want to know how many people there were, and we know how much each person was getting, then we see how many 1/3s can fit into our 5 pizzas. That should tell us how many people were eating dinner, because each of them got 1/3. So really, our 1/3 represents each person at dinner. If I find out how many 1/3s there are in 5 pizzas, then that's going to tell me how many people had pizza at the family dinner. We'll start out our problem by finding the number that needs to be divided, 5. We need to see how many 1/3s will fit into it, and so we divide it by 1/3. Next, if we're going to be able to divide these, we have to turn our whole number into a fraction. So I put it over 1. Now we have 5/1 divided by 1/3. Now in any division problem, I want to take the divisor and I want to find the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/3 is going to be 3/1. And I'm going to make the divide sign a times sign, and I keep the dividend the same. So now I have 5/1 times 3/1. If I do 5 times 3, that equals 15, and 1 times 1 equals 1. Now if I divide 1 into 15, it goes exactly 15 times. So how many people were at dinner? 15. The next problem we're going to look at is one that deals with dividing a mixed number by a fraction. So for this problem, we have Gunther. Gunther built a tower out of blocks for a class project. the tower was 43 3/4 inches tall. Each block in Gunther's tower was 1 3/4 inches tall. We want to know how many blocks did it take to make the tower. So in this case, we're going to be dividing a mixed number by a fraction. Let's go over to a new screen where we can do our work. So, in our problem, Gunther had built a tower that was 43 3/4 inches tall. Each block that he used to build his tower was 1 3/4 inches tall. We want to find out how many blocks it took to build Gunther's tower. In order to do that, we're going to have to find out how many 1 3/4 inches can fit into 43 3/4 inches, because that's how big his tower was, and each piece of it was this size. So we take 43 3/4 and we need to divide it by 1 3/4. This means we're trying to see how many of these can fit into this. So we begin by changing any mixed numbers in our problem into improper fractions. So we're going to do 43 times 4, which is 172, plus 3 in the numerator gets us 175 over 4. Now we go over to our divisor and we convert it into an improper fraction. So we do 4 times 1, which is 4, plus 3 gets us 7 over 4. Next up, we need to change our divisor into its reciprocal. So we do 4 over 7. Change our divide sign to a multiply sign, and now our problem is 175 over 4 times 4 over 7. In this case, I notice that I have 4 and 4 that are on a diagonal with each other, so I can cross cancel them both down to 1. That's going to save me a little bit of work when I have to simplify and change back to a mixed number. So if I do 175 times 1, I get 175. And 1 times 7 gets me 7. Now I convert 175 over 7 into a mixed number. So I do 175 divided by 7. 7 goes into 17 two times, which has 3 left over. I bring down my 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. And it looks like my answer is going to be 25. It took Gunther 25 blocks to complete his tower. Now, let's take a look at what the objectives for today's lesson were. The objectives for today's video were to be able to, at the end of this video, divide fractions to solve real-world problems. We looked at 3 different examples of real-world problems that involve dividing of fractions. If you're having any troubles, feel free to look back at the problems we solved in today's video to get some extra help. I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.